Well, guess who's excited? It's Romania Black, and I am so excited because we're on Medalist episode 4, and we are gearing up for a competition. And Inori, she has been practicing. She's got a strategy about her spinning, and so I'm ready to see it go down. But you know, even though Tsukasa's like, we got this in the bag, you can't jinx yourself because you know something's going to go crazy. So I'm really excited about that. But also, we have comments for the first time. I've got some comments from episode 1 over on YouTube, as well as episode 2 over on Patreon. So thank you all so much for commenting. It's been so much fun to see how hyped you are for this series. It's finally great to be in it after having it recommended for so long. So Kristen H has a really big comment. So first we're going to dive into H Banana 7, who for episode 2 says, I've had my eyes on Medalist for years, mostly because of Tsukasa's handsomeness. Well, yes. But now I'm invested in his character growth. He needs a mentor for like Tsukasa. So yeah, we were talking about how Tsukasa is such a great mentor for Inori, but you know, Tsukasa has some struggles. Who's going to mentor Tsukasa? And is he going to be stuck without one because he's an adult? So we're going to see where that goes. But I really liked that. Speaking of people helping people, Alexander Q brought up this really cool point because, again, my theories about Hikaru's coach, we don't know if it's her brother, if they're even related. They look related, but they may not be. It may just be coincidence. He may have chose her because she looks like him and he's that narcissistic. People have done that. So we don't know for sure, but Alexander Q brought up this really good point. She was like, a little detail I like about Hikaru is how wild her hair looks all the time. It makes me think that if the coach is indeed her brother, he is out of his depth because Hikaru's hair is not neat, probably because he can't do more, and in a sport that, as far as I understand, really values optics as well, that says a lot. It's just Hikaru saying that she has no mom that made me think of that with her wild hair. I think it hits me on two fronts. One, it makes me sad because she doesn't have a mother who's there, like, you know, we saw in the last episode with our cat girl, her mom was there all the time, like sequining her dress and getting her ready and making sure she looked nice, putting her hair up, or we assume she does. So it's really sad that Hikaru doesn't have, like, a mom to do that, and I'm not, just from what we've seen of that man, I doubt he has a brush. I doubt he's brushing anybody's hair, but that makes me sad. And also, if he is related to her or is her caretaker, then he doesn't exactly know how to take care of a little girl, and that's out of his depth. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to analyze this series and the characters, that's for sure. And then Kristen H, she had this really cool comment for episode 1, and I'm kind of like paring it down a little bit because it's a pretty big comment. They said, just a point of clarification. The skaters at the competitive level, i.e. at nationals, on the Grand Prix, World Championships, Olympics, etc., are technically on the amateur level, not professional. There's actually not really a professional circuit anymore. It fizzled out in the late 1990s, early 2000s. And those who moved on the professional level would not be able to compete in those amateur competitions anymore unless they abide by the guidelines set forth by the ISU, the International Skating Union, as an amateur athlete. Also, those Tsukasa got to nationals in ice skating, not pair skating, just to be clear. I don't know the difference, so maybe this show's really good about telling us the difference, so I feel like it's going to explain it, so we'll hold up, put a pin in that. Japanese nationals are a bloodbath. To put it into perspective, USA nationals in women's singles caps their senior age competition entries at 18 people. Japan had 40 or 50 at last nationals. Ice dancing in Japan is a significantly smaller field, but has seen significant growth over the years, mainly when retired men's figure skater Daisuke Takahashi came out of retirement to compete in ice dancing. I think it made a lot of young Japanese skaters realize that rather than languish in the middle or bottom of the pack in single skating, you could develop your skating skills in ice dancing discipline and maybe stand out a little more. Sorry for the dissertation. No, write that dissertation. Put that dissertation on blast. As a teacher, I'm ready to read the novels. So that's interesting. Okay. So possibly Tsukasa could find some headway in ice dancing because even though it seems highly competitive and has gotten more competitive as of recently, it's a different market than pairs and single skating than we've seen like in Yuri on Ice. Maybe, possibly. We'll see. The show's really good about explaining things, so I have a feeling that if we have any questions, the show's going to tell us that as we go. But I've really appreciated learning from this show and getting y'all's perspective, so I'm so excited to see what we get for episode 4. But with that being said, I have my coffee ready. I have the episode pulled up. I have the subtitles on. I'm ready to go. So we are going to start Medalist. Ooh, episode 4. I'm so ready. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's do it to it. Oh, let me tell y'all. I need to practice having better faith in series, because I was waiting for the melodrama to make this into way more of a scene than it needed to be, because I'm going to be honest, the anime that was sports related that I watched before this had a tendency to do that. Had a tendency to make some things melodramatic, and I was like, we do not have time for this. And I was starting to be like, oh no, is this series going to do the same thing and be melodramatic? No. Instead, we finally got the mom on board with it all. Finally met the sister. We're going to talk about her, and Inori finally is like, all right, we're going to get through. And her and Tsukasa, I just love. So, I mean, obviously, this has gotten Inori in the mindset now that she needs to be for the rest of the season. Because are things going to be perfect? No. Is this girl going to have a lot of challenges? Yes. And we're going to talk about that. But is she in a mindset now where her and Tsukasa are on the same page about yeah, you're going to fall. You may fail, but we're going to keep trying. Oh, it's so good. Yes. I was like, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Oh man, nothing made my day better than taking that potential melodrama and just going, whew, and getting it out of here. We ain't got time for that. I don't have time for that. So, yes, let's talk about this episode. I'm so excited. I have a lot I want to talk about. Mainly about how amazing Inori is. Inori and Tsukasa, mwah, chef's kiss. Here in 3, 2, 1, we are prepping for the Meikoh Cup for the Junior Women's Prelim. Do I think it's interesting that we have, what do I think about Inori going first? Because Meikoh still has to go. Obviously, this puts all the pressure on Meikoh if Meikoh is trying to beat Inori, which I'm glad for, because I think if all the pressure was on Inori, which Inori is not trying to beat Meikoh at this point. She's just trying to do well so she can advance to the next stage of the competition, whatever that is for her and Tsukasa and their plans to make her a better figure skater, to make her known. So she's not actively trying to beat Meikoh, but she wants to win this so she can go on to the next level. Meikoh, it puts more pressure on her, because now, the kid that's in 3rd place, or no, the person in 4th place had a 9.8, because they said they had a 9.8 and they were in 2nd. And then she got a 12.34, which is crazy. And that elevated her to 1st place. So we don't know what the person who's technically in 3rd has, but it's either going to go one of 3 ways. Either Meikoh is going to dig deep, pull from within, and beat Inori's score and take 1st, and maybe Inori takes 2nd, unless other skaters come and then, knock either of them out, which could happen, but I doubt it. Or Meikoh is not going, she's going to put all this pressure on herself, and then she's going to score under Inori, which would be crazy. Or she's going to maybe she's going to crash and burn and not even get in the top 3. So there's lots of options of what could happen. I'm excited because I talk about Yuri on Ice a lot with this series, because it's my only other figure skating comparison in terms of anime. But in that series, if we're treating Inori like Yuri, the main character of that series, we didn't just focus on Yuri or Inori the entire series. We also focused on the other skaters. So we're going to see how Meikoh does. Maybe we'll meet the other skaters in the OP. Maybe we'll see how Hikaru's doing wherever she's at right now competing. But also we have Tsukasa, which I am not convinced. I am totally from the OP thinking Tsukasa's going to be doing some skating in this series at some point for himself, and that's going to be fun to see. I'm very much looking forward to Inori motivating Tsukasa like he motivates her. I'm ready for that. I'm so ready for that. But we're not there yet. So, but yeah, this is going to put all the pressure on Meikoh now. Since she's the one that threw down the gauntlet saying she was going to beat Inori, well, now the pressure is going to be on her. So that's going to be our focus next week, which is going to be very interesting. I think it's kind of wild that they start judging these kids from the moment they start practicing, which honestly, we're going to get past the OP and get to the actual heart of this episode because this was a really good episode, but getting past our OP here. I think it's interesting that they start judging the moment that they get to the practice. And I know we're not to that part yet. We'll skip through it when we get to the anime, but I think that's interesting. I coach speech and debate, and we always tell competitors, like, the competition technically starts the moment you walk into the building you're competing in. Even before you compete, you will see judges in the hallway, and they don't intentionally judge you, but if you're acting a fool or being ridiculous, they will be like, oh, that person's a bit not polite. And I'm not saying that it impedes on their judgment or creates a bias, but I'll be honest, I've seen people act a fool, and then when it came down to like breaking a tie between two people in a round, that person act a fool, I didn't have a great view of them. And so I kind of was inclined to lead more with the person who was, tied with them. So I'm not saying there's implicit bias in your actions and your actions have consequences. I just think it's interesting that, they're watching you practice to see the quality of your work. I'm sure they watched her practice and then they saw her compete and were like, what happened between practice and competition? Which, I'm sure this is a low-level test, so they're probably thinking that jitters and nervousness factor into it. So that's so interesting, though. But before we even get to that, we have this moment of the mom who looks a bit younger with the sister. And the sister does look a lot like the mom. The dad has imparted genetics to his children. He's imparted genetics to them. We're not exactly sure what genetics. Because there's a series, a sports anime called Ace of the Diamond, and there are a pair of siblings in that series, and the pair of siblings are carbon copies of their mother. These two boys are carbon copies of their mother, and the dad's just there. He gave them their sex, and that's it. And this dad didn't even do that. So it's just like he was just there to add some genetic material. Because they look a lot like the mom. I will say Inori looks maybe a little bit more like the dad, but yeah, I'm like my dude. I'm so sorry. It's the opposite of the meme where it's like, I carried you 9 months in the womb and you look exactly like him. No, this time Inori's mom's like, I carried you 9 months in the womb and okay, this is valid. But yeah, so this is fascinating to me because for the last 3 episodes, it has painted this picture of the sister Mika, of which they call her Nori, so I don't know if her name's like Emika or if she has like a longer name and Mika's just the nickname. But they painted this picture of her falling and crashing as being this horrific thing. Like it was her very first competition and she fell and crashed. And then the mom was like, never again. But then we see it at the start of this episode and it's a very different picture. So like, she's like, it's okay. Your sister's good at competitions. Like she's been doing this for a while is what it seems like. And so, yeah. And then Inori, her mom's like, even though she's like, oh, your sister's good at competitions, the mom's heart's beating really, really fast. Kind of like saying, this story is filled with lots of unreliable narrators is what I'm figuring out because the mom's an unreliable narrator. Even Inori herself, she's viewing things from a different perspective. I was worried about her skating on the slick ice in front of all those people. What's interesting is that the sister and Inori are very different. Like Inori has like flyaways and hair sticking out everywhere and she's this ball of anxiety. And then her sister Mika looks prim and polished on the ice like nothing is, a problem. Yeah. And then the way that Inori remembers her is just as this beautiful skater doing all of these spins and landing effortlessly. And then seeing her, she dances and lands tricks so effortlessly. Like, yeah, and then doing that in a dress made of stardust. Like, she looks so professional there, and that's how Inori remembers her. Not like with the accident. What if I could become beautiful like her? And the answer is she did. So we're going to get to that part. But yeah, so I'm very curious to know how far the sister made it before the accident, and what about the accident made her not skate anymore? Like, was it an injury that they were like, yeah, you've torn a meniscus, you can't compete anymore, or like your tendon's gone, or like you have skater's knee or something like that? Like, what made her not be able to skate anymore? Because to be honest, this was not the personality I was expecting of the sister. This personality is not at all what I was expecting. I was expecting, based on how the mom reacted and how Inori like remembered that very first incident, or whatever incident it was that led to the accident that she had, it led me to believe that she would be this bitter, like kind of like, oh, you're skating, but do you know what happened to me? Like one of those type of situations. No! The sister's like completely well adjusted. And like, or at least seems that way. Like, she's fine. Like, she's just like, yeah, okay, you want to skate. And she's like supportive of her sister skating, and like, it's not a big deal. Like, it makes the mom seem very overreactive in this episode and prior episodes. It makes the mom seem like she's really like hyper paranoid about all this, because the sister's fine. Like, and that's the thing. The one thing we don't exactly know is like, what did the sister find to do that made up for not being good at figure skating? So what did the sister find to do? Because it's a big deal that this is something Inori likes, that she's good at. But with the other sister, it's like, well, then what is she doing now? How did she bounce back? What is she doing that made up for it? Like, she seems really stable. So what did she do after the accident? There's like parts and pieces of the narrative missing that I'm curious about. And it said your favorite sister. So does she have other sisters? So yeah, Meikoh. Maybe she is the only one. So yeah, but yeah, she seems fine. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. The previous sports anime that I was just talking about earlier that I watched was Chihaya Furu, and the sister here, when she's talking about like modeling, reminds me a lot of her, but she's a much more supportive sister than that sister in that series. Also, when she said she was in Canada, the part of me that's like, you know, a fan of Skate the Infinity was like, oh, were you hanging out with Longa? Or if we're going with the Yuri on Ice thing, were you hanging out with, JoJo? So, yeah, that's crazy. You came back from Canada. Why is she in Canada? So she's studying abroad there, but she's like modeling. Okay. Oh, she's studying abroad in Canada. Okay. So she's only over there to study abroad. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Interesting. But yeah, she's like, this brings me back. Like, she doesn't seem to have negative memories of figure skating. She seems like, oh yeah, that was just a point in my life. I really would be curious to know the sister's perspective, and if her and Inori talk about figure skating at any point, because the fact that she seems totally okay with what happened to her, I'm so curious about what that means. So yeah, she looks like Sailor Moon. Like, Inori looks like Neo Serenity Sailor Moon. Like, I love the white with the gold. It's super cute. And here's the thing. The mom spent all night tailoring the outfit. So there's a lot of insecurity with the mom that we talk about in this episode. The mom has a lot of insecurity, and she's worried about her daughter and worried about Inori, but in reality, she is excited and wants to support her and be there for her, because she spent all night getting the outfit ready. You know, if she didn't care, she wouldn't have done it. So I think there's a lot under the surface here that's really interesting. But yeah, look at all their faces. Like, that mom's genetic makeup is, them genes are super dominant. Yeah, and she's like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm just going to take a nap. Yeah, I did too much since it's been a while. Yeah, the mom, it's been a while since she's tailored a dress, so she couldn't quite remember how much work it took. Yeah, so then there's the dad. Not eye color, not hair color. Maybe Inori's slightly messy hair is from him. That and his passiveness. Maybe. But I don't know. Yeah, he's like, well, I was going to take off work. He's like, I had that important presentation scheduled and I was going to take off to watch her. And they're like, aw, mom's getting on to you. And he's like, help. He's like, please send help. I feel bad for the dad. Also, okay, no, Inori gets her facial expressions from the dad. There we go. Inori's horrific facial expressions are from the father. There we go. That's it. That is what he's passed on to his daughter. You're welcome, sir. So yeah. And what I like here is that the sister points out that the mom does care and that the mom does want to support Inori, because the sister brings up, she's like, once I got home, mom didn't ask how Canada was or how I was doing. She wanted to talk about you. So she's like, she's really excited for you. She just also is super nervous that something bad is going to happen and you're going to have a bad experience and it's going to ruin things. I'm also glad that the sister did something with her hair because that needed to happen. Also, love the sister side bangs. Go millennial side bangs. Yeah. After she said that you're working really hard to get good at skating. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, and see, look how supportive she is. Like, I'm really surprised that the sister is the way that she is. I'm not mad at it. I like it. But I wasn't expecting, her to be so, like, realistically supportive. Because I've watched sports anime where they've not been realistically supportive, and I've been like, oh, here's the melodrama. And no, she's fine. She's all great with it. Now, of course, as soon as she leaves, Inori's like anchor and, sense of stability is gone. And then she sees Meikoh, who is just ready to go. Mario doesn't see her, but Meikoh does. I'm going to be curious. I feel like we're going to focus on Meikoh next week, and I'm going to be real curious to see what that is about and how she deals with things. But I do feel for Inori being like, I wish we could be friends again and things could be like they used to be. And, Inori, she stood up to her mom, stood up for herself this episode. So I'm not expecting her to stand up to Meikoh, but maybe next week, since she's been successful standing up for herself here, she can have a conversation with Meikoh and explain like, hey, I want to be friends again. Can we go back to that? I personally think that Tsukasa is adorable. Hitomi does not value his cute little warm-ups. I think they're adorable. I think he's amazing. Hitomi, stop. Full stop. Let this man cook. He's so cute. Like, Hitomi's just like, you guys are ridiculous. So yeah. Group 1 finished, and then at the end of Group 2 is Inori. Yep. She was frantically hoping that she wouldn't pull the first group. Oh my god! Yeah, she definitely inherited that from her father. I just love she's like, not first. Which honestly, I mean, for Inori, good. Girl didn't go first. That's good for her. She didn't need those extra nerves. I have a lot of people on the team that I coach that they don't want to go first and they don't want to go last. And I'm like, in an episode of Drag Race, there was a very important lesson that was taught. And that was when you have an order of something, it does not matter what order you go in. It truly doesn't. What matters is how you handle what order you go in. So, I mean, I always told competitors, if you go first, you set the stage. You set the bar, you set the stage, all the pressure's off after that point. Going first is actually really good. If you go last, that's also really good because you are the last impression the judge sees. You're the most fresh in the judge's mind. They maybe will remember you a little bit better. So it's great to go last. It's great to go in the middle because if somebody before you was boring, then you need to pick up the energy and your judge will be like, oh, thank God, that last person was boring, so you're great. Or if that person was good, you get to ride the high of that person and be like, let's keep this energy going. And the judge will be like, yes, another round, another person. So there really is no bad place to be. It's just the energy that you bring to whatever position you get. That's what matters. So if you think that you're going to do terrible if you're not first or last, then yeah, you will. But if you think you're going to do terrible going first, you probably will. It's a mindset. It is very much and it sounds cliche to say mind over matter, but in the case of where you are going and what order you are in, it really does matter. Yeah. And so the sister Mika acknowledges that Inori is, still gets anxious about that sort of thing. And to be honest, it does kind of seem like the mom, like maybe Inori not only inherits her, disgruntled, disgusted faces from her dad, but inherits some of that anxiety from her mom and some of that insecurity from her mom, because her mom seems kind of insecure about, her daughter going in a certain way. But, Mika's like, when I used to skate, I remember my coach telling me that you only get stronger if you know your own weaknesses. Like, again, the sister seems to have a positive impact from skating. So group 2, she's the last person in group 2. It's number 7 through 12. Interesting. So there's a lot of skaters, but that's going to be crazy. So yeah, this whole idea of watching them as they practice, that is pretty wild. And it was starting to make me nervous. Like, we can't have anything nice. We can't have nice things. It can't just go off without a hitch, right? No, she's got to have nerves. She's got to fall down. She's got to make mistakes. I was getting like a little bit anxiety ridden, being like, okay, girl, they've watched you make all these mistakes. Now what? I mean, I guess it made her look more impressive when she nailed it later on, but still. Also, I wanted to note that of the ones that were coming out to the ice, what do we have here? We had number 7 was from Meikoh Crown. Okay, we had number 7 from Meikoh Crown. And I want to see where these other kids were from. Because what they say there. Number 10 was from Meikoh Crown. Another one. Number 11 was from Meikoh Wind. Okay, so there's somebody different. And then she's from Lux Higashiyama. Okay, interesting. I'm guessing the Meikoh Crown is like a bigger skate thing. Also, her friends coming from her school to watch her skate. Now, I am glad that wasn't made into a bigger deal than it could have been, because the moment we saw them, on the one hand, I was like, oh, good, her friends have shown up her school classmates have come to watch her skate. That's cool. That's very supportive of them. That's very nice. And then the other side of me was like, oh my gosh, they're going to make her nervous. So I'm glad that she had that one fall in front of them, but then they still supported her, and then she went on and did her thing, and they were all like, oh my God, like, good. Maybe when she goes to school, they'll be like, oh my God, Inori, you did that awesome figure skating. Like, now let's be friends. And it kind of sucks that she has to be good at something to become friends with them. But it would be nice if she got acknowledged at school and they weren't, like ignoring her all the time. Maybe. Although we're going to talk about that ignoring thing, because she recognizes that it's all her. So she like tucks and tumbles and everything. And of course, Tsukasa and Hitomi are like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And the mom's freaking out. And she's like, no, it's fine. And of course, Tsukasa immediately tries to make an excuse like, oh, well, Hoa's ice is a different texture than Osu's. And that's why it is. But then she keeps on having issues. And the mom's getting concerned. And Inori doesn't know what's going on. And Tsukasa doesn't know what's going on. And he's like, well, there's still some time. We could practice the flying sit spin. And even then, something's off. Like, the moment she jumped in the air like that, I was like, oh, no, the form is off. The arms are off. This isn't going to land well. And she does not. And, of course, they have time for practice is over, right? Is it like it's dark and she looks like really scared in this moment? And I was like, show, you're creating this drama. Or is this going to be needless drama? And, of course, the mom is freaked out because she thinks this is going to be a repeat. I am curious. Again, the mom has made it out like it's this really bad thing what happened to Mika, but Mika seems fine. I was waiting for Mika to kind of acknowledge like her own accident and like what happened and like how it affected her, but we didn't hear anything about it. So I am hyper curious about this accident and like what happened and the aftermath of it, because she seems fine. So maybe we will get that by the end of the season. Mayhaps. So yeah, so Tsukasa's just like, you know what? It was the timing of your arms. You're not injured, so we'll be right as rain. And as they're practicing, Inori is like, I couldn't land a single jump. I get why it's a bad deal. And he's like, well, you know what? Well, we'll just do this. And that's when the mom shows up. And at first, when she's out here telling him to change the jumps to the easy ones that she can land, I was getting irritated. I'm sure I seemed irritated in the reaction, but I was like, let's not have this melodrama, because I was like, I don't need that melodrama. I was like, no, because the mom has been so like, she's made progress. Like, we've seen the mom make progress throughout the show so far. And this felt like a leap backwards. And I was like, no. And the sad thing is is that he's like, I didn't make the program difficult. And she's like, but she's not landing them. And he's like, well, and of course she had to be there to listen. Of course. Which, thankfully, in the long run, it's good that she was there to listen because she's able to speak up and speak for herself, which I'm so proud of her for doing. But yeah. And so at this point, I do think it is important. I'm going to give the mom some grace. I'm going to give the mom some grace and say that I do think this was an important point to bring up. Because, again, the mom is looking at this from one direction and Tsukasa is looking at it from a different direction. Tsukasa is like, Inori wants to be a professional, a pro skater. She wants to be an Olympic skater. And he's like, in order for her to do that, we have to catch up. And because she's older. So that means we need to advance quickly. So Tsukasa is like, here's her goal. Here's how we have to achieve that. And I'm just trying to meld those two together. And so from Tsukasa's perspective, it makes sense why he's doing the things that he's doing because that's what he believes will work best to help her achieve what she wants to achieve. But then the mom does make a good point here. She's like, advance quickly for what? Like, is it just to be at a level that you think she's capable of, or are you putting her in danger by trying to advance too quickly? And I get where she's coming from. She's like, this shouldn't just be about her advancing quickly. It should be about her enjoying it. And you can understand where the mom is coming from. She's like, she's in 5th grade. It doesn't matter. Now, this part where she says it doesn't matter how much she advances, I was like, well, but then I get what she means here when she says she can finally pour her heart into this. She finally found something she can pour her heart into. She hasn't had anything she could do until now. She always looks like she was suffering, and now she's having fun. I don't want skating to become a memory of failure. And Inori is really struck by that. But, I mean, I get where the mom is coming from, because she wants this to be a good memory for Inori. But at the same time, the mom is, saying that, oh, just let her have fun. She's not going to be competitive anyway. And I'm like, in a way, you're kind of putting your daughter down because what you're saying is that she's not good enough and you just want her to have fun. But, she should be able to have ambition. She should be able to want to do better. And the mom is like, I don't want my child to fail because then I don't think she will enjoy life. And I'm like, but she's gonna fail at life in parts at times. It's what you do after you fail that's important. And if this means a lot to her, then when she fails, she's going to work harder and try to figure out how to succeed in the future without failing again. Like, I feel like I deal with a lot of parents because I also work in a school, and I deal with a lot of parents that are not necessarily bulldozer parents, not necessarily helicopter parents, but they like over shelter their child because they don't want them to ever fail because they're afraid. I feel like those parents have failed in their lives at some point and it deeply traumatized them. So they assume that that same trauma will happen to their child if they fail. But what I feel is that it's not really the failure that traumatized the parent. It's whatever happened afterwards in the aftermath. And instead of trying to understand that and reflect on that and teach that to their kids so that they don't end up with that same trauma, they're just like, well, we'll just not fail at anything. And then we'll just avoid the trauma altogether. And I'm like, but you're going to fail at something in life at some point. I'm like, I've tried cooking before. Failed. But that doesn't mean I've stopped cooking. It just means I tried different techniques and I learned what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And there you go. Like, I just feel like sheltering your child from ever failing at anything because you're afraid that they're not going to like it anymore after that. Well, if you set that pattern up, then you're setting up a pattern that if they're not great at it, they're just going to give up. And that is wasteful of such an opportunity that they could have to get better or learn new things from it. And then I love that Inori figures out, she's like, my mom's vouching for me again. She's like, she did it before. Meikoh got on to me about it. She's like, I need to stand up for myself. She tried stopping me for my own good, and she didn't want me to get hurt when I failed. And then that's when the mom says she's going to quit when she hits middle school. But I'm like, I felt kind of like I wanted to just like take the mom and go, what are you saying? Like at that moment, because she's like, well, she's going to quit when she hits middle school. She's already in 5th grade. She's going to start middle school like next year. So what you're saying is let her have fun for a year and not compete and then tell her not to do it anymore, then what is she going to do when she goes back to school and she can't figure skate? Like, then what is she going to do? So, like, I wanted to shake the mom a little bit. Like, I get where she's coming from, and I get that she's trying to protect her kid. And Tsukasa, what gets me is he starts to say something, but then he realizes that, like, the mom is projecting her fear of failure from what she's seen with her other daughter, even though the other daughter seems perfectly fine. She's projecting her fear of failure onto Inori. And then in this moment, Tsukasa realizes he is projecting his fear, or he's projecting his regret of not being able to go further in his own competitive, lane. He's projecting that onto Inori. And he's like, I shouldn't say anything because I will be protecting myself and not really speaking in her best interest. And I'm like, that was good. I was like, yeah, Tsukasa realizes that he can't really speak for her. And so he can't speak for her. The mom shouldn't be speaking for her. So I love that Inori, she's like so confused on what to do. And then we see this kid that's like, yeah, she's beautiful. I want to figure skate too. And the mirror in that moment when she looks over and she sees that kid was calling her beautiful, that what she's wanted this entire time is for someone to recognize her as being beautiful. And someone finally does. Just without provocation, without prompt. And in that moment, like, I love the idea of drawing inspiration when you don't even realize that you're being inspired or that you're inspiring others. I'm watching another series on my channel right now called Journal with Witch. You should watch it. It's the coziest anime ever. And I can't say why, but you'll see if you watch it. But there is this lesson in one of the episodes I just watched where it's like people being influenced without realizing that they're influencing others. And so she was influenced by this kid, but this kid simultaneously is being influenced by her on the ice, and it's beautiful. But I'm just so proud of Inori for her to stand up to her mom, and she's like, and for her to realize, she's like, it's not that I can't change, I haven't changed. That is huge. For her to sit there and be like, I have the capability of changing who I am. I just have to do it. And I'm not doing it, and then I'm wondering why things aren't changing. And I'm like, this girl is freaking 11 and she's inspiring as all get out. And she's like, I don't want to feel embarrassed of myself. I'm not who I used to be. She's like, I have this beautiful costume. I'm a figure skater like the ones I've admired. And then I love that she just stands up to the mom. She's like, look, I know that what I'm doing is difficult. I know it's going to be easy to mess up. I'm not going to win all the time. There's lots of things I can't do, but I want to do this. I still want to compete. I love it. I want you to think that I'm good at something. So I'm going to do my best. Just because I'm wearing skates doesn't mean I can land a jump. Yep. I love that she's like, back then I saw my sister as something special, but it wasn't figure skating itself. I love that she was like, my sister was what I thought was special, but it wasn't just the activity. Oh, I'm going to make figure skating something special. I love that. That's going to be the thumbnail. That shot right there. Oh my God, girl. I love that she's like, I was idolizing my sister and not the event. Now I'm going to make the event shine. I'm like, so good. She just took that melodrama and just kicked it. Just feel gold. Feel gold. Just get it out of here. Loved it. Just punted it out of the space. That's right. That's what you got to do. Take that melodrama and get it out of here. Loved that. That was fantastic. So yeah. So then she gets on there, onto her program, and I love that she grabs on the strings. She's like, I want to be a medalist, but I haven't won any achievements yet. I'm really nervous even though I'm holding these. What if I mess up? And this is the best part. This is the part that like gets me emotional, that just sends me over the moon. She's like, well, what happens if I mess up? And then he says, you don't have to be afraid of falling. If you fall, you get back up like nothing happened. Yep. You don't have to be good at competing. It's okay to be anxious. Because that's the thing. People are like, oh, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I don't know what to do. And it's like, it's okay to be nervous. That's normal. Like, everyone gets nervous. Everyone gets anxious. It's okay to not succeed. It's okay to fall. But just get back up like nothing happened. And just keep going. I live. It's okay if you mess up. And he's like, I'll reteach you from the beginning and we'll try again. Oh, that's the coaching that I love. That right there, I freaking love it. That's all there is to it. I'm here to lead you to your goals however you show up. That's just, right in the feels. Right in the feels. Yes. Yes. Hell yes. That gets me. That gets me. So Meikoh was in second place. We don't get to know who was in first place, but it was less than what Inori's score ends up being. And I don't mind the CGI. I think that she looked really good. It does look a little tiny bit jarring when you see her skating and you know there's some CGI in there, but I think it is cute. And her expressions are great. And that one, I'm glad that it wasn't a perfect routine. She did have the fall because that makes it a little more realistic. But her doing that sit spin into the like broken leg, there was like a little tiny gap in the reaction. Like there was this big loud boom when I was in the middle of watching and I was like, what the fudge was that? And I think it was thunder outside, but it was like huge and loud. And I was like, what was that? So I had to pause for like a hot second. Of course, he's like, I'd give her 1 billion extra points. Tsukasa is Inori's biggest fan. He is so barn blind to her. I'm like, girl. If you don't know what barn blind means, it's when you think that like, it's a farm term that like when you go to shows and you show cows and livestock and stuff, like you think your cow in the barn is the best in the barn, but it's called barn blind because you haven't gotten out to see the other competition. And then when you see the other competition, you're like, oh, I may have overestimated. And I'm not saying that Tsukasa does that, but he views Inori as like the end all be all. And I'm like, my dude, I love it. Don't ever change. But yeah, and then she goes up. The last one, the flying sit spin, and she gets it, and then he's like, she's going too fast, but then he realizes, like just the awe, he becomes Vash from Trigun, like the awe, he's like a broken leg sit spin, which is a special kind of sit spin, and he's like, I only showed her once. I feel like they did this move in Yuri on Ice. This was done in Yuri on Ice, because I've seen Yuri make that face. But yeah, he's like, I only showed her one time. Which, you know, proves that you just have to see it once. And she's like, it's up to me. If I don't like something, I have to change. I love that she took it upon herself, that she's like, I want the extra points. I know I can do this. I'm going to do it now. I'm not going to ask for his permission. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to keep trying again and again. She kept falling, but she never gave up on the victory. Up until the very end. And him, like, with tears in his eyes, like, my dude. I know, right? I know. It's so good. Yes. And everybody's like, there's, like, the delayed silence and then the clapping. I'm glad all of her friends, like, from school were, like, really excited. And then Meikoh is like, that's the score I gotta beat. Aw. And she looks over and the kid that saw her and said she was beautiful was clapping too. Nice. And then tears in her eyes, she goes over to see, and then the mom, she's strong enough to get back up on her own. And again, I want to give the mom a little grace. That is a valid concern from parents, that you're afraid your kid is going to fall and not be able to get back up again. And you're worried for them and you care about them, so you want the best for them. Like, I get that. That mom, I get that entirely. I love that she's finally able to see that her sister is going to, like, be okay. So there was this one thing here where it said, there's nothing you can do about it. Unlike us, both you and your husband work. So was that like grade 2 or something? So you didn't have time to look over her homework. Oh, so, okay. So she got a bad grade on her homework, like in 2nd grade. And the mom, they were like, oh, well, you know, you and your husband work, so you didn't have time to do it. So that's crazy. So the mom, just to give the mom some context, she's basically equating like Inori's failure to herself in a way by saying that, oh, my daughter failed because I wasn't adequate enough to parent her towards success. That is a real feeling. And I want to talk about that real quick. Like, I've given the mom a really hard time in this series, but my coworkers, like, I don't have children myself, but I work with a lot of people who do have children. And we've talked about this at work quite frequently, but there is like this cultural stigma that a lot of parents are like, my son and daughter, my son or child or non-binary child or whatever has to be perfect. And if they aren't perfect, it's a reflection of my parenting. And if they aren't perfect, it means that I was a bad parent and I wasn't doing my job. And I'm like, no, like we were talking about that. It's like, not every kid is going to be the champion spelling bee winner. Not every kid is going to be top in the class valedictorian. There's usually only one valedictorian for a reason. So not every kid is going to be that. So you can't put that pressure on yourself as a parent to say my child has to be perfect, because it's not a reflection of you. And it seems like Inori's mom views anything her child is failing at or struggling with as a reflection on her own parenting skills. And that's crazy. I mean, she's not crazy for thinking that, but it's crazy that that is even a thought being brought up. And it's crazy that's being even perpetuated here, especially because she was like a second grader. And then, yeah, she says, I was the weak one. And I like that the one sister's like, hey, let's go find Inori. Like, the sister doesn't judge her mom. She's just like, let's go. I want to know more about Meikoh. I want to learn more about her. And then, yeah, Tsukasa, he's just so proud of her. Oh, look at him. Look at our little golden retriever. Oh, look at him. I love them. That's so precious. That's so freaking precious. Yes. And then the sister's like, hey, what's up? What's up? Yep. And then the mom, she's like, what kind of medalist do you want to be? And Inori's like, well, if I told you Olympic, how would you react? And they're like, oh my God. And the mom's like, okay. She's like, if that's what you want, then I'm going to support you. And I love that. She's like, you were so graceful, I couldn't take my eyes off of you. And then she tells her there's many things you're not good at. So you've always worked harder than everyone else to make up for it. Yep. And she's like, I'm sorry I decided things for you, that I complicated things. I'm sorry I let you work so hard by yourself. I'll become the kind of mom that can cheer on your dreams. Oh, and then all three of them were like, mrr. That's so cute. I'm so glad the mom is finally on the same page. I'm so glad we've made it there. Like, there's still going to be struggles. Like, girl is still going to struggle, but that's a huge hurdle to get through, to have the mom on our side and be supportive. Like, seriously. 12.64. Oof. Currently in first place. Currently. That could change. But, it's so good. It's so good. I'm so glad that we did. I was afraid because this episode says, what does it say there? It says part 1. And so obviously part 2 is next week. So when they said part 1, I was really afraid that we were going to have to I was afraid that we were going to have all this melodrama and then not get to Inori until the end of the episode. And they're going to make us wait till next week. And I was like, no, but they didn't do that. They let us get to it. And I was like, yes, yay. So, oh man. Wow. Okay. That was a fantastic episode, y'all. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts down below, but I had a lot of fun with that one. So next week, we're going to finish out this Miss Meikoh Cup and see how Meikoh does and how everybody else does and where this all shakes out. So in the meantime, I'm excited to hear your comments down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back very soon with more of Medalist.